Welcome to Co-op Mode, round 124. This is the official video game podcast of Secret Friends Unite. I'm one of your hosts, Todd Oxtra, from beautiful Savage, Minnesota, where the weather is on crack cocaine. It's 88 degrees today in Minnesota. It shouldn't be. Joined by Mark, the Canadian Carabin. How you doing, bud?
I'm great. I don't think our weather's on crack. It is quite warm, but it'll like go up and down. It's a roller coaster of emotions, and I'm riding it out as long as I can because I enjoy the warm weather. So, I'm good. I'm here. I'm excited to talk about video games and have some fun.
Excellent. Well, we're joined by a person that I've podcasted with in the past. He's been on a special episode of Co-op Mode, but not an official episode of Co-op Mode, and that is Mr. Jason Marshall from DearGamers.net. And the fun part about Jason is you've been in different podcasts before and different groups. So I think the last group that I podcast with was at Story Route Zero?
Correct.
All right. So you're taking me back with Matthew Keel. So, and I did a really fun episode of Fansplaining with Matt when we talked about music. So if you get a chance on Patreon, listen to that. But Jason, for people who don't know, you just give us your gamer geek origin. How'd you get into games?
Well, I've been gaming almost 40 years, but I think I really hit my stride post-college when I realized I don't care what people think. It was not to steal to come out of the closet type, but like it's now, who cares? And I mean, for the people watching, you can see behind me the wide range of geek stuff. But yeah, no, I've done 2 podcasts. I've written for 2 websites. My current one, DearGamers.net, and it's just something I just enjoy doing regularly. It's just a hobby that it's a stress reliever. It's something fun. It's just an escape. And it's just, I just love it. I mean, all facets of it.
And Jason's a gaming dad, so he's got a little one. And Jason, if you follow him on X, you'll see that he plays a lot of games. He's very accomplished. You always put me to shame in regards to what you're able to cover and the scope of games. And check out the website because there's some really good coverage there, some really good game reviews. And I think, Jason, I appreciate what you bring to the table. So you're definitely a better gamer than I am. And I think you even challenged me at one point, like, I didn't see any indie games on your list, Todd, there. So trying to be better, trying to do better. So, and I'll actually talk about a couple of games that weren't on my radar before today. But thank you, Jason, for joining us.
Glad to be here.
Yeah, so we are going to get into a little bit of, I guess we're going to clean out our closet a little bit today, and that is talking about a change to Patreon. We've been doing Patreon about 10 months, and as we thought about this, the economy of the world kind of sucks right now, and we realized we wanted to do a little bit better about making our content more readily available and more affordable. So we're doing a couple of things to change that. So first of all, we're adding basically an entry-level tier just to say thank you for patrons, to say thank you for making the content you do. And we're going to give you a digital high five for $1. And that's all it is. It's $1. You are our new Secret Friends squad. So thank you so much. If you want to participate at that tier, we've got the $2 Besties tier. This is essentially replacing the old thank you tier. Now they're getting audio content, and they're also in our Discord. So this is a upgrade, and they don't have to do anything. So thanks everyone in that tier. You're getting an upgrade. You're getting a power up. The $5 tier, Friends with Benefits. Now this essentially becomes the top tier that we have. This includes all audio video podcasts that we're going to make, shout outs on every episode. You're going to get assigned a special ability, including a power-up on this episode, and you're going to get access to our Patreon Discord channel. We retired one of our channels, and then we have one channel left over, which we've closed out, and definitely offering our patrons that are in that tier to come and join us at the $5 tier if they choose to. If they want to stay at that level, we're not going to force them, by all means. So that's kind of where we're at. So it's available now, and still getting a free trial for 7 days. It's there. The good news is there's going to be content flowing, new things coming through. And one of the things we did at Mark, I don't know if you saw it, I put a poll up and what people want to see. They'd like to see more interviews and more opinion pieces. And I think we've got one guest lined up for an interview, which I think is going to be a lot of fun. And then I've got one potentially lined up for a different interview. And I think some people are going to be doing some new content as well. So very excited about that. So that's kind of the status of Patreon.
Yeah, I'm hoping to have some stuff for potentially two really cool interviews. And I don't want to say too much because the event that I'm going to, there's a couple of guests at the end of October. And this is going to be more Star Wars focused, but I'll talk about it here for a second because I just got the email tonight saying like, yeah, we're going to try our best to talk to these guests and get you in an interview room with them. But I probably won't know until like the end of the month, right before, or possibly when I show up at the event, like, hey, yeah, you're talking to someone. It'll be if you've seen behind me, it's blurred out tonight, but if you see me behind me, you might be able to guess the authors that I might be able to talk to. So they're little Easter eggs for past episodes.
Very cool. Yeah, it's part of being Patreon that gives us the time and the resources to do these type of things. So we're really excited about what's coming next couple of months and the next year coming up. So with that, Mark, well, like we said, we're going to give out some shout outs. So we're adding some new people to our shout outs this month.
Yeah. Yeah. So we've got Corey and HD. This is the first the Friends with Benefits tier for this one.
Yes.
Yes. I just wanted to make sure I got with the tiers changing and everything. I wanted to make sure I got that right. So Corey and HD, thank you so much. John Sadorf, the Phoenix Sisters cosplay, Bang Bang McBanger, and the third banger, son of Banger of the House of the Bangers. Brendan Myers, is everything okay?
That is a poking Joe, Mr. Badbit. It hates the word
fully
banger.
aware, yes. Yeah, that is fantastic. So Brendan Myers, thank you. Much appreciated. And the BFF tiers, Sean, Stella, Henry Nias, everyone in this, it's all just champions, absolutely. Missy Merchant, Andy Milliken, just all the love. Thank you.
Absolutely. So one of the things we're going to do is the Friends with Benefits, they get a power-up. So we're going to start off with Corey over at Boss Rush Games. So, Jason, since you're our guest, what type of video game power-up would you give Corey?
You know, the Mario movie's been playing almost nonstop. My 4-year-old actually wants to watch it. How about the cat one? It's deceptive.
Ooh.
Nobody really, but then he comes out on top. So it's it's not as obvious as the superstar, but the cat suit.
It's a good outfit.
Corey,
it's got claws. You stay warm.
Yeah, I like that.
Mark, what's your power?
Yeah. Okay, Corey is the best. So I'm going to go similar. I'm going to go Super Mario Brothers, but I'm just going to give him the invincibility star and just do all over the place. I just want, the absolute best protection and power that Corey can muster. I really do like that catsuit though, man. That was a good one. I thought a superstar right away, and now you're like, oh man, but he did beat Donkey Kong with that thing, without even having that superstar power. That's a good one. I'm going to stick with superstar.
Okay. Well, I'm going to bless Corey with a game that's near and dear to his heart, Destiny. There's a special ability in Destiny if you get a certain weapon, and it's called One in the Chamber. So essentially, it's almost like infinite ammo if you do it right, and that is so excellent. Essentially, it's just a perk in a weapon, a specific weapon, and I believe if you nail an enemy on the last round, it automatically reloads another round. So if you can keep that going, and I'm going to apply it to any game. Ratchet and Clank, I'm going to, Halo, any game where you're firing a weapon, he gets that.
All right.
But it requires a little bit of skill. I mean,
I like that you specified like in any game, because I was like, man, that's the most like American friggin' power up, like unlimited ammo, like IRL. Like that's just
he lives in Ohio, I mean, Ohio,
America. All right, Corey, you got unlimited ammo.
Louisiana. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Or maybe it's a fart. He's always got one in the chamber. You never know. He's got kids. He needs to make them laugh,
Absolutely.
Yeah. It's the ultimate dad revenge, right? It's about the best thing you can do to your kid. Worst thing you can do to your kid, without giving him, permanent memories of, bad parenthood. Oh, well. Yeah. Thank you, Corey. Thank you, all the Patreons. And we'll see who's going to get a power up next week. Can't wait. With that, we're getting to our segment, Buy, Rent, Return. Mark, this is all you're doing. And I don't mean that like a negative light, but take us through.
All right. Yeah. So I got to pick this time, and I thought, Todd, you were playing Mortal Kombat 1. I've been playing, you're going to find out a little bit of Assassin's Creed that I'll talk about later. And I just started thinking about like cool ways that video games let you kill people or dispatch people, or like cool, like finisher kind of things. We also had a thing in our Discord. Famous Seamus shared like top video games. So I was thinking about Smash Brothers while I was making that list, and Batman, like the Arkham games where you could do cool like takedowns and all that kind of stuff. So I just started thinking about like cool finishing things, but the Assassin's Creed is really what led to this. So I started about, thinking about best video game kills. So we've got 3 options, and there's pros and cons, I think, for each one of these. So the Assassin's Creed death from above, or like really any kind of like sneak attack stealth death. But I really love that iconic, like, you jump down and just hidden blade in the top of some guy's skull. Just iconic scene. Mortal Kombat fatalities, just any of them. They're always spectacular. They're always over the top. Like a little bit, sometimes too over the top, a little bit too complicated to get, not always reliable. So is what it is. And then sniper, like slow motion bullet, like X-ray bullet where you see it go in and break some bones and do all. It's almost like a Mortal Kombat fatality for a shooter game. And I always love that.
Is that the Sniper Elite games that do that?
That's what I was thinking about. Yeah. Even though like that game's not really my jam. It's a little too stealthy for a shooter game for me, but I always love that. Like I'll always just go in and try that. If it's on like Game Pass or something, I'll always just go in and just be like, yeah, okay, let's see. Like I got to see the kill cam in this. Like I got to check that out. Same thing with something like Bulletstorm, where you can kind of like slow down that bullet and really kind of guide it. And I almost put Bulletstorm in this, but I was like, nah, Sniper does it better. So here we go. So that's 3 choices. Jason, do you want to take first crack at this one?
Buy would be Sniper Elite, or the X-ray shot. I love the Sniper Elite games, and it's just so satisfying because you're so far away. And it's like an extra confirmation that, and especially when it's like a high-ranking Nazi or Adolf himself, and you just like nail that like below-the-belt shot, and it's just like the whole thing. Rent, I'd go with Mortal Kombat with the caveat that it's with friends, because there's nothing better than beating your friend in co-op and then finishing him. I mean, it's so integral to the series. I mean, finish him, but like it's more. I feel like if you're just playing the computer over time, like yeah, you do it, but it's like okay, I've seen this the kind of, and then I've played Assassin's Creed. I'd say my first 2-3 hours, all about stealth. You want those cool kills. And then I get to a point where I'm just powerful enough that I'm just running in and taking out 10 guys. There's no stealthy kills. There's no Death from Above. So that's where I'd go with my ranking.
Nice. Todd, how you feeling with this one?
So I was challenged because I was thinking, Mark. I'm like, when I saw these choices, I'm like, I thought of like I thought you were just gonna go like like Assassin's Creed, like you're just gonna say like any stealth kill. So like one of my favorite stealth kills is always like you're hanging on a ledge, the guy looks over, and you just pull him off, and he dies. I love those kind of like goofy ass or you're coming like sneak up behind a guy and just take him out. I love those. Those are my favorite type of stealth. I love those.
I mean, we kind of went generic for the other two, like any Mortal Kombat fatality. So like I think you can throw in any death from Assassin's Creed, like any kind of like one of those, as long as you're not just like sword fighting guys until they fall down. You know what I mean? This has got to be like a stealth kill.
The old school.
So you can throw that in.
You're not really like invulnerable. You're not a beast. You're basically a glass cannon, and you don't want to fight. That's your last resort. So So you know what? I'm gonna buy the just like Jason said, the sniper. I love being a sniper in any game, and it's so satisfying taking anybody out. I just love it. The one-hit kill, the weapons that shouldn't be sniper rifles, that they are sniper rifles for some reason. It's like, that shouldn't work that way. Love it. So I'm going to buy sniper, and especially in that game. And there is like a more over the top, like a zombie Nazi like version of Sniper Elite, I think.
Yes.
Is it undead? That's fun. You should play that one. That one is far more like arcadey and goofy, and it's fun.
Yeah, there's traps you lay. You have to deal with hordes.
Yep, it's a lot of fun. Yeah. Then I'm gonna go with so if this is in reality, I'm gonna go with Assassin's Creed Death from Above, just because I feel like it's something I can do and I've done in those games, and it's repeatable. And it is because you're like, gotcha! It's like, I'm gonna get you. It's always one of those like those abilities in other games where it's like Death from Above is kind of like one of those perks you can have, like you can easily kill somebody from above. So I love that too. I think it was like Shadow Mortar that gave you that ability. Like it was like one of those perks you could power up in that game. Also did the same thing where you're over them, you're just going nuts. So I think that's always fun to pull off. But obviously it's situational because you have to find a place to be up. So it doesn't always come in handy, if you're in a flat desert land. So, but then Mortal Kombat fatalities. This is just me going to say that I'm not good at them. So I would be like 1 out of 10 it works. It's like, shit. It's me just like acting crazy and the guy just falls down. I'm like, oh, so unsatisfying. If you had said, Todd, you always could pull it off, I'd say, yeah, it goes up higher on the list. So but that's, I think, my Byron return. And Mark?
That's kind of what I went in thinking with my rankings, was how like the satisfaction to skill level for me was kind of a big thing. And I'm a huge Assassin's Creed fan. I love setting those kills up of like, okay, I see this guy, I'm seeing where he's walking, I'm watching his pattern. I can get that kill from this angle. I can set myself up. If I climb this or if I go under this, I can, grab them from down below or drop them from up high. So I think for me as like a skill balance satisfaction thing, Assassin's Creed, that's it always hits for me. So that's going to be my buy. My rent, I think, is going to be Mortal Kombat fatalities because they are so over the top, but in a similar way, like I'm not great at them, and when I'm playing Mortal Kombat, I like to mix up my characters. So like, I'm not going to remember all the button combinations for like every single person that I'm going to, I have my usuals like Johnny Cage and Scorpion or something that I might be able to remember it on a good day. But like, if I'm just having some fun and goofing around and trying every single different character, I hate having that pause and you look at the thing and then you try to do it and you fail. And it's like, shit, I'm just going to watch a YouTube video. But like when you actually get them, it is quite satisfying. And then for the sniper slow motion, like I said, I love testing those out for a little bit. And I think famous Seamus said the same thing in his, and I'm going to read that in a second. But once you see a few of them, for me anyway, it gets to, like, okay, cool. I've seen what this offers. I'm good with it. It is fun. I love watching them because some people are so skilled. Like Jason, you said, you get those super distant shots. You get those, like, you blow off his below the belt area from a million miles away, and it's just like these guys are crazy. I love it.
It's like the
But for me,
scene from
it's
Wanted.
what was
Oh
that?
yeah.
From Wanted at the end, where he
Yes,
takes a shot and it
Oh
just
yeah.
keeps going, and then
exactly. Those kind of shots. That's not me, but I love the skill and the cinematic nature of it, and just watching people do it online. So that's my ranking. That's going to be my return, but I still love it. So those it was tough to pick because they're very small margins of like. On some days, I'm just like, yeah, you know what? I'm gonna watch like YouTube videos of sniper kills. That's gonna be my day.
So if they added that feature where in Splatoon where the paint goes through the person's skull and it's through the X-ray, is that a part of it now?
I want to. So like Fortnite, when you get a
Yeah.
victory, it'll slow it down for a second. But I want to see that replay. I want to see that kind of thing thrown into Fortnite of like because there was a match that I finished in Fortnite. I think I posted up the video a couple of weeks ago, and I was floating on a balloon, and I whipped my sniper out, and I saw the last guy running, and I just like pulled the sniper out, shot it as I was descending with the balloon, and like headshot from a couple of 100 meters away as this guy was running down a hill towards me. And I was like, I need the slow motion replay of that sniper style. Like, put that in that game.
Don't worry, Mark.
And I
That's
know
going
I
to be
can
an
like go
upgrade.
back
Epic.
and
Yeah.
yeah,
Epic will sell you that perk.
you can go back and watch your replays and take it from different camera
Sure.
angles and stuff. But like, I just want that
Nothing
built in.
better than a replay when you do something cool.
Yeah,
Everybody loves it.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we got a couple of write-ins. The Winter Gamer. We've got buy sniper slow motion because guns kills are so quick. Like that one. Rent Death from Above because I feel just like a superhero landing. It's bad for the knees.
For the knees. Nice.
Fair. And Return Fatalities because it's overkill. All right. Famous Seamus coming in like complete opposite energy with Mortal Kombat fatalities, and even responds, yeah, they're overkill, but that's the fun of them. Why just stab someone in the heart when you can just rip the heart out? A lot of them are goofy, like one where a character just basically stretched the opponent's neck until it's a giraffe neck, but those are fun too. So, okay, yeah. Rent, the sniper slow motion X-ray, they're cool, but eventually, once you see a skull get destroyed by a bullet, it'll get boring seeing yet another one or an eye get blown up or whatnot. Or it kind of gets repetitive, and that's again why I like watching the people who actually know what they're doing. And it's like, hey, watch me explode this guy's eyeball. Hey, watch me like shoot this guy's finger off. Hey, watch me shoot this guy's downstairs finger off. It's just like you got like a lot of different variations
it's like
of
they're
what you can
playing
do.
pool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Eye socket, 300 meters, wind to the left.
Every joint, I'm taking out every joint. We're just going to go up. We'll see how this goes.
And Seamus is returning Death from Above. Those poor knees. One, those poor knees, and two, there's a large margin for error. If you don't jump at the right time, not only do you miss your target, but you hurt your knees even more and look like an amateur. And that's, yeah, absolutely. I missed a jump in Assassin's
This is
Creed
like all the
Mirage
bad
other day.
assassins.
And oh man, I just missed this so bad. And it was like one of those like you see the guy trying to steady himself and just the thud. It's like, oh, I'm sorry, Bassam. That was not nice of me. So thank you guys for playing along with that one, for writing in. Todd will be back, I'm sure, next week to torture me with some absolutely insane choices.
I got to raise the bar, Mark. I got to raise the bar on my own self. We'll see how it goes. The funny part is when they talked about the knees. When I was playing Starfield a couple of weeks ago, I fell I jumped off a surface that I shouldn't have, and it's like, you've hurt your knees. I'm like, I have to deal with that in real life. I don't want my joints being called out in video games. I want to escape reality. It's like, oh, you got a bad back now. I'm like, go to the doctor, get some, physical therapy and come back in 2 weeks. No reality in my gaming. I don't want that.
No.
Oh, well. So let's actually talk about some games. Jason, what have you been gaming, man?
So I just finished Sea of Stars with the true ending. Well, the second end, or the complete ending. So if you've played it, there's a number of tasks to do after you beat the game, and you can get a different ending. I actually did kickstart this,
Cool.
but it's probably one of the best games I've played all year. It's just they did the attention to detail, and it's really like a labor of love. And I mean, they just and it's such a stark contrast to the Messenger. It's same universe, but like
Mm.
the difference in games, and you're like, wow, this is it's like totally different. And like the effort they put in, it's like this is amazing. So highly recommend that. Um, I did jump into Immortals of Avion. It's it's interesting. Um, the combat is fun. It feels like a boomer shooter. It's very chaotic,
Talking to me, talking to the boomer.
but I feel the pacing's a little off. But maybe because I'm only about 5 chapters in. Like you go
Mm.
from these boomer shooter chaotic fights to walking through the city and talking, and it's like, all right, let's pick up the pace. Come on, I just got a new power. I don't want to talk about it. I want to blow something up. Um, I am playing a game that's under NDA, so I can't really talk about it. But there is a demo, so I guess this is I could say check out Wizard with a Gun. There's a
Oh
demo
yeah.
on Steam right
Oh,
now.
yeah.
I'm in the playtest, so my guess is the version I'm playing is different than the demo. But this is out end of the month, and I think the free demo on Steam right now, so definitely check it out. And last but not least, I played about 2 hours of Cocoon last night.
Oh, I just started. I was just playing that before we got on, Jason.
It's very interesting, but it's one of those games you definitely need to be in the mindset to solve puzzles. It's not a turn your brain off because there's very you know what it reminded me? It reminded me of remember Monument Valley, the iOS and Android
Yep.
game that was
Hmm.
Yep.
very think outside the box to solve puzzles.
Yep.
That's this is much grander scale, but
Mm.
it looks beautiful. I mean, also this is the Limbo studio, so they're known for I mean the way it looks. But
Right.
yeah, this is a fascinating game. I'm
Yeah,
really
it's kind of a the aesthetic is different because you think of like Play Dead games and
yeah
or is it Play Dead Laboratories? They did Limbo and Inside,
yes
and those games are very dour and stark. This
yes
is bright, beautiful, kind of a deserty alien world. Your character is like a bug man. He comes out of a cocoon, and it's very it's not just side scrolling anymore. You're basically it's a full world you go into. Plays with different heights, and I did beat the first. There's a boss. There are boss battles in this,
yeah. I beat
but
the
there's only one button in this game. Essentially, it's typically to pick something up or to pull something. In this case, it's just using the environment, not like a weapon or anything. It's just using the environment to take on the boss. And so I think that's kind of neat that they're expanding the type of gameplay. And even when you die, I felt like I got right back into it, which was kind of nice.
yeah
And it does deal with like multiple worlds. Like you're exploring, you're trying to get to a certain part. There's puzzles, and then you need to get back there. And I thought this was kind of neat, Jason. The when you beat a boss or get something, you actually get your reward is like something that helps you with traversal.
yes
Like the one you get, which is kind of funny because if you think of like those old, like some of the Mario power ups where you can't see that level and only so much you can see going forward, like you're carrying something with you. That was one of the power ups. Like it basically allows you to
Mm.
see like hidden pathways. The other one was just kind of unlock certain things. So I liked what they're doing. It's definitely an interesting game, and I've heard it only gets better from there.
yeah. I'm through 2 bosses now, and
Okay.
like you don't really fight the boss. You make the boss lose in a sense, like because
Yeah.
there's only
Mm.
one button, so you're just kind of manipulating the environment to make him do something, and then it unlocks a new. And it's you have to play. It's like Inception. You're in a world. You beat a boss. You leave the world to go into another world, but you can access
Yes.
the previous world and you can kind of manipulate how it presents itself.
Yeah. There are no maps,
It's
so
on
that's the
Game
other
Pass.
thing to be aware of. So if you just want to make note of your environments to know where you need to go. But it kind of makes sure you know where to go. You kind of get a feel like it's guiding you, but you're still exploring.
It's on Game Pass, and they just announced today that it's Steam Deck verified. If anyone was
Ooh,
interested,
nice.
That makes sense. Yeah, I could see this game probably come to Switch. Maybe
yeah, I could.
doesn't seem too. I mean, it's stylized, which makes it helpful versus
And
like
this dev's
complex.
never been exclusive to one particular platform, so I don't see why they wouldn't
Nice.
bring it over.
Yeah, I think it's just on Xbox and
No,
PC
it's on
right now, though, right?
PlayStation.
Oh, it is. Okay. I played it on Game Pass on PC because I was like, oh, it's
Or
there and
Switch.
it's free. So yeah,
It's always interesting what's developed for what. And
exactly.
I've even asked devs about it, and there's really no straight answer as to it's just what kit's easier to work with, and sometimes this one's easier, and sometimes this is. But yeah, that's about it. I mean, I try to focus. I found if I stick to 2 games at most, it's kind of across all my consoles.
I
That
feel
works.
you.
Yeah.
I've got FOMO. I'm like, which game is calling to me? It's a lot. It's a lot to manage. Yeah, I totally get that. Well, very cool. Mark, you're playing the game that was just #1 at the box office this weekend.
Yeah. I am playing Paw Patrol World. Again, I have to give a big shout out to Outright Games. I am an Outright Games ambassador, so I got a special review copy of this game for Switch, and it's great. It's an open world Paw Patrol game, free roaming, 3D. You can explore all of like Adventure Bay, Jake's Mountain, the jungle, all that kind of stuff. You can switch at any time between any of the pups. There are different places. Like if you want to go on water, you got to pick Zuma and go on his hovercraft. If you want to, do this or that, like you got to pick certain pups for certain tasks at different times. But for the most part, you can just run around. It's 2-player, can drop in and drop out anytime. So really, really flexible that way. It's cute. It's well voice acted. It's, fairly simplistic. So my son was really into it. Just kind of watching, he hasn't really fully grasped like stuff, but like he knew to run around and try to collect pup treats. And again, as usual with Outright Games, by default, these games are geared for kids and ready to go. So like by default, they turn off camera motion. So when I'm playing, I like to control the camera. So I flick that off in the settings, but it has to be flicked off because again, by default, the camera just follows you and does what it's supposed to. And it's pretty intelligent that way. So, like even a 3-year-old can kind of play this and go after some pup treats and really have a fun time. But it's kind of, it's more when like, okay, buddy, you got to press this button to like switch a pup or like that button to get in the vehicle or get out, which you can also do at any point. You want to just jump into Rubble's tractor and go for it. Like you can do that, cruise up the street, do your thing. But it's, it's really fun. He just got a kick out of just watching it and watching this story unfold, like original story plus like some of the kind of stuff from the TV. And he was picking out characters, even like NPC style characters. He's like, oh, that was this one. Oh, look, go back. I just saw this person. Like he was getting so into it because he loves Paw Patrol so much. So I was super excited to play this game. It's out for everything. It's out for like I said, I've been playing it on Switch, PS4, PS5, Steam, Xbox One, the Xbox Series consoles, wherever you can get this game. If you have kids that love Paw Patrol, this is one to get because you can just go explore Adventure Bay, which is awesome. Like how often do we get to explore the cartoons and all that kind of stuff that we watch? I remember like that was a big thing for like Simpsons Hit and Run.
Mm-hmm.
Like back in the day, it was like, you can explore Springfield. Come on. Like this is that, but for Paw Patrol kids, like if your kid's in Paw Patrol, like just do it. This is great.
Yeah, I'm jealous. I wish they had a Wiggles game like that when Logan was a kid, but not so much.
I cannot wait for. You saw the Paw Patrol?
My girls did, so
nice.
I see this as a purchase in the future.
Well, it's cool they can
For
play
sure.
co-op. That's kind of nice. I mean, with your kid. I mean,
Mhm.
it's something fun to play. And I don't know, do they change difficulty by player, or is it just you just play at the same default difficulty?
I think it's just kind of the same difficulty. I don't recall there being a difficulty ramp up. I could be mistaken on that one, but I
I
don't.
want the sold version of Paw Patrol.
Yeah, that's
Well, the one they throw, because you said it's open world.
Papa
They throw
Souls.
you. They could throw you in jail. They throw you in jail. You get arrested. It's great.
That would be fantastic. But no, I think it's pretty much just the basic, pick up these power ups. There's a lot of unlockables too, which are adorable. Like you can put hats on the pups or get, different little collectibles and different things, vehicle stickers, postcards, and all that kind of stuff. And artwork for a Chickaletta, the chicken, art exhibit, which it's just, there's so much ridiculous stuff. It's just so great. And it's so like, again, if your kids are into Paw Patrol, like this is one that they're going to enjoy. This is like, it's just, there's so much fan service. It looks like they're doing the same kind of thing with the Bluey game that comes out in November.
Yep.
And it just looks like straight up like you're just ripping it out of the cartoon and just having another fun adventure and story. So my little dude Finn, he loves Paw Patrol, and this was like right up his alley. This was like Saturday morning. Instead of watching cartoons, we played a cartoon. It was awesome. So that's pretty good. And then I really switched gears and went for the pretty much the exact opposite of the spectrum. I got again an early review code as a Ubisoft Canada ambassador for Assassin's Creed Mirage. That is why this episode dropped a little later on Wednesday as you're listening to it. As I'm talking about it, I can't even like publicly talk about it aside from like, I even got an email today of like, hey, we forgot to stipulate, like, don't share this or don't share that. It's like, nah, I'm sharing like the download screen and telling people that I'm playing it. And that's it. Like there's some stuff. But because you're listening on Wednesday, after whenever the time stipulation is over, I can at least share my initial thoughts. I will just say up front, due to playing Paw Patrol and the weekend being the weekend and having a 3-year-old, I did not put a ton of time into this game. I put a few hours in. I'm a decent little chunk into the game, but like not at a place where I feel like I want to give it a full review. So that's going to come later. I'm going to do like a separate review episode. I'm going to like write down some of my thoughts, kind of talk about them in probably a solo podcast. Might jump if there's someone else that's been playing it that I know that wants to like kind of jump in and bounce some stuff off. But for right now, I'm just planning like a solo special episode. It'll drop for Patreons first, and then a day or two later, it'll drop for the public feed. So wait for that. That'll be my full review on Assassin's Creed Mirage. But for right now, this game feels like the first couple of Assassin's Creed games. It is scaled back, scaled down. Mostly kind of takes place in Baghdad. You follow Basim, who we met already in Assassin's Creed Valhalla. But this is basically his introduction into the order. So I think it's 10, 11, 12 years before we see him in Valhalla. So this is kind of a prequel to that. But again, a lot more focused, feels more like the first game. There's, the buildings are, there's a lot of scaling buildings rather than like open fields and open, places that you can go, nature and whatever. There's a lot of stealth. The first few missions, you don't even have the option to attack people with a weapon. It is all stealth kills. It is all sneaking and running. It is a really big change from walking in and just being this badass Viking who instantly can take people down. Or my personal favorite of the series, Black Flag, where you start off and you're just this swashbuckling pirate who has dual wielding swords and a gun and can just like do whatever he wants, and kills the assassin. And then is like, okay, well, I'm taking your costume. I guess I'm an assassin now. Deal with it. Like, very different vibe. This dude is training. He is failing. He is getting his ass handed to him. And it is a return to the roots of the series. And I love that. I love how scaled back it feels. I'm not usually one to love stealth, but it was like, it felt like I was going on that journey, and I knew I was getting to a point where eventually I'd get the blade. Eventually I'd get some swords. Eventually it would open up to be more like an Assassin's Creed game that I'm used to, but we haven't really seen that kind of the journey so far. I'm invested in the characters, the story. It's all kind of interesting to see, again, where this character started and going back that way. So without giving out too much of the story, my initial impressions are, if you were a fan of Assassin's Creed 1, or even like, the Ezio trilogy, this is really giving off those kind of vibes. But has the benefit of playing on modern systems, of learning from those games, of, not being as janky or as repetitive or this or that or whatever, right? Like, it's still varied. From the first mission, you can sneak in, and it says you can follow this person or figure out your own way to do it. She knows how to get in. You can follow her or do your own thing. So I kind of followed her for a second, and then I saw something. I was like, I'm going to go up there for a sec. And I messed off into my own way and then met up with her later. And she was just like, "Where'd you go?" And I was like, "Don't worry about it. We got this." And it was like, it's just, they let you do what you want, how you want to do it. So like we were saying in the buy, rent, return, if you see someone, you can figure out those patterns and say, "Oh, okay, I'm going to go in low, or I'm going to go in high," or like, I can't even face this dude. Like, I got my ass handed to me last night playing this, and I fought him a second time. I was like, no, I've learned from my mistake. No, I didn't. I did not. I got my ass handed to me again. I just got to skip that guy. There's nothing like, no, I'm just running. So get used to that, because I was not used to, I was not used to that in like Assassin's Creed games anymore. So it's good, man. It's really good. It's a change. It's different. If you're only used to, or if you hated the first in the series and you really like the modern Assassin's Creed games more, maybe it's not going to be your jam. But like, for me, I've played every single one from the beginning, including the side scrollers, the mobile games, the 3DS game, like, or the DS game, or whatever it was. So that I'm fitting right in. It's giving me a little nostalgia trip. It's great.
So I played 1 and then 2. The whole Animus thing kind of, I was not interested, but then I eventually got back to Origins, like maybe 2 or 3 years after. And what I liked about Origins over Odyssey, Origins felt, obviously it's grander world, but you felt like an assassin. Like Odyssey, you just really, like, you're a merc. You're not, like, you could do this stealthy stuff, but like in reality you could just, so is this like a scaled down version of, like, if someone liked Origins, like not as grand, but like with the whole, like, because even in Origins he wears the iconic hood, and like you can be more of the stealth variety. So
Yeah,
you say it's close to, like, if you like that one, you'll kind of
yeah, definitely. Yeah, you feel more of an assassin. So that's something I didn't. I'm really glad you actually brought that up, because there's like, as when you finally become an assassin in this, and there's kind of that big training montage, like I said at the beginning. But once you finally kind of open up that city, you go back and you're an assassin. A lot of it's finding clues. Like, you're actually doing the assassin work of like, who do I have to kill? What do I have to do? I found this. Okay, well, this probably came from that section of town. That's this is a piece of fabric. I'm going to go to the fabric district. I'm going to talk to a contact I know there. Okay, this guy sent me to these guys. These guys will only talk to me if I free their men. So I'm going to go free their men, and I'm going to kill whoever I need to, and then I'm going to get back. And it is that kind of like methodical assassin kind of like figuring out the steps and tracing your target and then going after it. So it's varied missions, and yeah, you feel more like an assassin than a merc for sure.
Is there a skill tree? Is there experience points? Is it like
yes?
I mean, it's
okay.
It is
Detective,
okay.
and then you assassinate.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly. Yeah, but yeah, this Batman Kills. Yes, Todd, there is a skill tree. So, and I mentioned the fall damage before, and that was one of the first skills that I bought. Was like,
Okay.
when you hit from a higher jump, you roll. Like that's a skill tree thing that you can unlock. And so there's different things from like, scouting out your territory, using your eagle companion. So different perks for that. There's different perks for sneaking, and there's different perks for attack or whatever. So, yeah, you can kind of balance it how you want to. But so far, I've been kind of doing mostly in the traversal.
Yeah.
Don't die when I do something stupid kind of fall damage kind of thing. So,
Yeah. What about armor upgrades, weapon upgrades, this type of thing? Do you acquire different ones? Can you buy them, or is it part of a quest? You get one, or a mission, you get it from that.
Yes, to all of that. You can go to the the different districts. So you can go to like the tailors. You can go to the blacksmiths. You can get them to do weapons. You can you bring them the material that they need. You can buy stuff. I straight up found an outfit on actually that mission that I got my ass handed to me. There was a tiny little puzzle on a ship that I ended up, kind of figuring out the puzzle. And at the end, there was a chest, and it gave me a brand new outfit. So there it goes. So yeah, a lot of ways to get different things, and each outfit, each weapon has an upgrade path itself, where you can take this raw material and make your sword better. Take this raw material and boost up this. There's also, similar to Hogwarts Legacy, where if you like something you're wearing, you can change it, but you can kind of keep the perks from something else.
Transmog.
Yeah, a little transmog kind of thing. So, so you can kind of look how you want to. You can dye your fabrics. You can really customize your look, and also customize your perks and abilities. So very open to interpretation how you want to play it ish, because it is still that stealth assassin kind of game for me so far. But yeah, there's a lot of variation within that I think is going to be interesting to a lot of people.
I think the thing that I'm hearing from most people about this game is it's like 20 hours max. And that seems to be a very smart decision, in where the Ubisoft games, they got to be like 150 hours plus DLC and expansions. It seems like that's just, I don't want to say dilutes it, but it does feel like it kind of prevents a lot of people from wanting to go into that, because they feel like, well, unless I do it all, I feel like it's a waste. So this is kind of nice, going scaled back, very focused, and probably more satisfying, and getting a lot of new people potentially back into the franchise.
Yeah, myself included, man. Like I love the series, but like it got to be so big. It was like too big for me to finish some of the games. Like I'd finish them to a satisfactory conclusion, or it'd take me a freaking year or two to finish the game, of just like going back in and just like, okay, where the heck was I? Oh, right. Yeah, I remember how to play this game now. Okay, let's do a few more missions or whatever. And I'd finally figure out the story and kind of golden path it by the end of it. But yeah, this is, again, scaled back. It's a manageable story length. You can kind of do everything and just be like, cool, I am satisfied with this. And there's still other things to it. You can do the historical tours and all that kind of stuff that the Assassin's Creed games have been really good at putting in there as well. So there's all that extra content, but like, yeah, manageable story. Whew, sign me up.
Yeah, I think
it's also $50.
The Ubisoft formula works better with like a Far Cry. I'm going to take a plane up. I'm going to crash the plane into your base as I skydive down with rocket launchers. An Assassin's game, you need that close, because yes, you can go in loud, but you want the option. And like when you're running, like I remember in Origins, I was on horseback for like a solid, like in real life, 5 minutes, just Like go, it's like why? Like what? But I
Yeah,
think
this
it depends on, and I think with Assassin's Creed, it does lend itself to a scale down because then it works
it's
better for that type of story.
it's funny you mentioned the horse thing because again, early on, you pass your initiation, you're heading to Baghdad, and you're on camels, and there's this really great, really cinematic, cool cutscene, and then you finish off, and it's like, okay, we're heading to the bureau. You can kind of explore and go off, whatever, and you're on your camel, and I'm like, this is going to take me like 10 minutes real world time to like run into town on my friggin' camel across the desert, whatever. It's like 2 seconds. Like you could just get off the camel and run into Baghdad. And I was like, that's different. That's not a 10-minute ride. What is this? This is amazing. And it was literally like, yeah, like just the camel was just kind of there for like a cool cinematic take, but like it took 30 seconds to get where I needed to go. I was like, ooh, that's a refreshing different take. I like this. I know what this game's about. Like that was telling in itself of like, and I was again so glad you brought that up. Like super relevant of like that's what the old games did, and I appreciated that. I like that, but like this game, it almost felt like they were specifically doing it for that. Of like if you played these and you're used to like 10-minute horse rides across Egypt, guess what? There's none
They
of
had a
that here.
checklist. They had a checklist. We got to address all these things. We're going to go through it.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's a $50 game. So normally new games are $70 now. That's just the new
Yeah.
thing. So this is $50, which is great. I mean, it's it doesn't diminish a quality game to make it
Mhm.
more affordable, which is great. And yeah, I mean, I think there's like 8 new Assassin's Creed projects being planned anyway. So if this isn't for you and you want the old school style, I'm
Mhm.
assuming there's going to be more of those too, which is nice to have the balance.
Yeah, I mean, there's another one coming out next month. If you're a VR fan, Assassin's Creed Nexus. I'm really hoping to check that one out. And
Talk about hurting your knees when you're actually up and falling and attacking someone, Mark.
I'm just really, yeah, I'm scared for whoever's in the room when I'm playing this, and I'm actually going for the kills.
Sorry, Finn.
Like, I'm gonna, yeah, I'm
Daddy
just,
does love you. He
Yeah.
didn't mean to kill you. Try to kill you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Throw that in with the Quest 3 with like some full color pass through. I'll be jumping, doing flips off my couch and stuff. That'd be, it's going to be intense.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect. Oh, well, I have been doing something that I'm not good in real life, which is Mortal Kombat, fighting creatures from other worlds. It's not my forte in real life, but in the video game, I love it. I love it. Prior to this, I played Mortal Kombat 11 Aftermath because I hadn't played that before. Loved that. Got me up to speed. Just reminded me why I love Netherworld fighting games. It's a shame we haven't got another Injustice game, and I don't know if we ever will again. But right now we're getting Mortal Kombat. It's all Mortal Kombat all the time, movies, animated things. But Mortal Kombat 1, I got it from GameFly, and I just devoured the game. It is really cool because it's basically taking place right after 11 Aftermath, and it's resetting the world in a remix. It's almost like remixing Mortal Kombat, where everything you kind of know about these characters, there's pieces of it, but it's remixed, which is kind of neat. You've got Scorpion and Sub-Zero now as essentially blood brothers. You've got the game. It's not spoilers, but Liu Kang is now the new Raiden. Basically, he's the fire god. Raiden is reset as just a regular person, and it's kind of neat how they've also reset the Nether Realm as well. So it's just setting all these things. It's neat. You get to see characters being different than they were previously, and it's a blast. I really enjoy it. It's a really fun campaign, and they do a great job of just getting you to play the other characters as they forward the story. You play each character a little bit, so you get to understand what they're like. In the campaign mode, there's really no fatalities. It's just because they're like, well, you can't kill them because you're probably going to run into them later. So they don't want to deal with that. But it is fun. I really enjoyed the ending of the game because it's like you're kind of going to the finish. and it's essentially even getting more of like the multiverse where there is remixes of every character, like, oh, that's a unique take on that character, and it's like it's just one off as you're trying to get up this end point, and it's just one after one. You're just running into them, and it's like one round of combat. And you're just trying to get up this mountain. It is a blast. I enjoyed it. Stay to the end of the credits because obviously this is not the end of the series, so I like what they're doing. So it's a very satisfying game. The combat is wonderful and fun. It's as deep as you want to go. I played at medium difficulty, and I felt like I did pretty well. I probably could have increased the difficulty and had more of a challenge, but I liked what I did. I was there for the story and some punches and just having fun time.
Nice.
There is, but after you beat the game, it's fun because they add in essentially like a Mario Party game, which is essentially it's like an overworld on a like almost like a board where you're like it opens on Johnny Cage's mansion, and it's set, and you go to these different nodes, and you basically fight different characters. You get different power ups. And you can get money to get different things, cosmetics and things like that. So I could see where people, if they just want to stick around, that's a great mode just to keep you going. If you don't want to just do the towers or anything like that. So I think that adds a lot of value to keep coming back to the game and have a good time. You can buy things in real money if you want. I didn't. You don't need to. It's just there if you want. I don't know. I didn't get the cameo pack or whatever that's got Homelander. It's got blanking all the games names. Omni-Man. It's also got Peacemaker, and then some other Heritage Mortal Kombat characters as well. So, but I am hearing some rumors like they may be bringing out some classic horror characters as well, like Chucky and Jigsaw, which is kind of weird because they're very tiny. So I don't know how that works, but that would be a lot of fun. So I just love Mortal Kombat. It took me about a week to beat it, and I had a blast. Absolutely enjoyed it. Story's over the top, but man, it is fun. And I did finally figure out a couple of fatalities when I played like just some of the regular combat modes, and that was fun. But yeah, when you screw it up, you just feel like a dumbass.
Nice.
Yeah, you don't feel very good. So that's Mortal Kombat 1. Check it out. It's going to be awesome. Be a very popular year of fighters because Street Fighter is already out, so there's going to become some competition. Tekken was smart to avoid this year, and they're jumping in January, and so I'm looking forward to Tekken as well. And then a game that Jason recommended, I got from GameFly, Revenant 2. So I had some questions to Jason, so I asked him like because I thought I'm like because the first game I didn't know a lot. I just knew it was kind of like known to be kind of Souls-like you with guns and things like that. So I'm like, okay. So I'm like, okay, I'll watch some gameplay. It didn't grab me. I'm not a hardcore gamer. I'm not a good guy. I'm not my sole claim to fame in the world of Souls type of games, roguelikes, is I beat the first boss in Bloodborne. That's it. That's all I did. Beat it and ditched. So Revenant 2. So I will say this, coming into Revenant 2, they didn't tell me anything about the first game. So I'm like jumping. I'm like, I don't know anything about this world. It's kind of like post-apocalyptic kind of. There's a disease called the Root, I think, and there's these weird like goat pan creatures who are there, who you're kind of in their world. But there's this infection called the Root that takes over people, and there's a lot of demonic creatures. And this is a co-op multiplayer shooter that actually reminded me a lot of Outriders. Outriders?
Yes.
Yeah. So kind of reminded that third-person shooter type of game. I didn't play it cooperatively. I just played by myself. And there is power up, or basically there's upgrades in most of your gear. Now the part that is a little bit more Souls like is kind of like the bonfires in Souls where you come back and that's where your progress. I didn't feel like it punished you with that. Like if you die, you go back to it, but you keep your stuff. So that was that. I mean, I think this type of game you want to play. I think it's good for that. The game, though, did not look like a PS5 game. It looked like a PS4 game. I tried it on quality and performance settings. It just looked very muddy. It didn't blow me away. So I kind of like, considering where we're at now, 3 years in, if a game is on this next gen, I kind of expect it to be a little like when you're talking to a character and you don't see their lips move and their face is kind of muddy in a kind of a talking scene. I'm like, okay, didn't love that. Didn't love the combat. It did nothing for me. And I felt it was very repetitive. And in the level design, very boring and repetitive. I didn't find anything interesting. When I found something, it's a chest with something. I'm like, yeah, it didn't grab me at all. But I think for a lot of people that are into if you want to play co-op with buddies, I think it could be a very fun game. I did see the high praise of it, so maybe I'm missing something. But for me, I played it and I'm like, sorry. I think it's like I said, it's like Outriders and Gears like in a little bit. But I played at the lowest difficulty. Obviously, I could tell this game is a game that is going to be. I got to the first boss and I'm like, yeah, see what they're doing. I'm just not finding the fun here. So not for me, but I know, Jason, you loved it and you platinumed them. So this game is not for me, but I think a lot of people will find it. It's getting great reviews. So just wasn't a Todd game.
So I actually have a article I wrote. I rarely do like features because I mostly do reviews. I beat the game at around the 40-hour mark. I am now at 160 hours.
Holy cow.
Ooh.
So now I'll just quickly, because you can read it when it comes out this week, but I compared it to what I thought Diablo was going to be. Diablo, super excited, played all the betas. I got it early access, beat it, put 70 hours in. The whole Diablo thing, the procedural generated, like you go in different, but Diablo to me was just, okay, it's the same dungeon. There's nothing, it's a different layout, but just a monster, you kill them all. There's actually Reddit deep dives on Remnant 2. There's literally every stage can spawn 2 different world bosses, and each of those stages can spawn up to 3 different dungeons. And those dungeons could spawn like 2 to 3 different variations.
Jesus.
That's why I put, like, you can run, I got the dungeon I want. And it's not the dungeon version that you wanted. So you have to, there's a way in the game to re-roll. You don't have to like replay the whole game. It's not like one of those, I got to start over. Like they made it, from the first game, they improved on this. Like basically, you could just re-roll the world you're in, like just restart it, and it'll come up with a different type of. There will be this dungeon, but it's like there's so many, and I played this with Matthew Keel. We had platinum the first one. It was actually the first platinum I got with my youngest daughter. I was on leave.
Oh wow!
And I had her swaddled, and I platinumed this. So it was kind of special, and then he platinumed it. Now he's a dad, so it was kind of we wanted to do this together. But like, it's one of those things where it definitely works better as if you have 1 or 2 people to play with.
I could see that.
It's not for everyone, but if you like that style, definitely there's the replayability is just insane if you really want to look for it.
It's funny because I played a game last year. Was it Evil West? Was that the game? Evil West? And that's an over-the-top third-person combat game, kind of Gears-like. And that one's over the top. And it's definitely straightforward. It feels kind of like a throwback. But I love that one because it was just all in on... it knew what it was. You're fighting vampires, just having a good time. And that is not Revenant. Revenant is definitely feels like it's more rewarding. If you dig in, you get upgrades. It's got challenges because you can get like there's like status effects you can get to in the world, and you have to worry about them. You can get unencumbered, apparently, that can slow you down, reduce your stamina, and things like that with a roll. So, like I said, I think this is a game that it's for a certain type of player like you, Jason. Like, yeah, I can play it for 160 hours because it's giving you more, ability to replay what you love and do things. So I think if that's the type of game you want, like game you can dig in and just enjoy good shooting, because I thought the shooting was pretty good, and the variety of weapons and things like that. So
Yeah,
yeah,
there's like 20 to 25 like builds you can do with the
yeah.
different weapons. There was
Oh,
even the biggest secret for the game was through data mining. They literally hid it, and it was intended for people to find through data mining.
okay.
Like
Because
it's one of those they threw it in there, and
Well,
you're like, "Wait, how do you do this?"
yeah, and I liked it because you can get 4 classes, which I didn't even talk about because I picked the class where you have a dog essentially with you who can go and attack. You can pick up be a medic, which I thought that's the medic seemed really cool because essentially you can. It kind of reminds me of Resistance 2, where the multiplayer where the medic could like just shoot people and give them like health, which I love that like idea. Kind of like was it Counter Strike or no, like Counter Strike.
Overwatch, Mercy,
Overwatch, and what's the old one by Valve?
Team Fortress.
um Team Fortress, yeah, like the medic
mm,
and things like that. So kind of remind me of that. So yeah, so
Actually,
that's where
10. There's actually
you could
10
probably
classes.
play a different build each time you wanted to if you want to dig deep in this game. So yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I mean,
definitely.
there's really. I should have this article out this week, but like,
Oh, cool.
it's really it's either I'm going to beat this 35, 40 hours or I'm going to keep going. Like there's 10 classes to unlock. There's all these extra guns. There's bosses have alternate kills. Like there's so much to do on a single you just keep going if you really want to.
Yeah,
And there's
and
DLC
it's
plan.
and it's funny because Jason, you mentioned Immortals of Avium, and that's a game where that seems like a Todd game. So I
mm,
really want to try that one. I'm hoping it'll come to like EA Access or something like that down the road. But I know that developer, and we're going to talk about that. Unfortunately, was hit with some pretty big negative layoffs, and is struggling to really find a place in this marketplace, which is really really tough. So I think we nailed all the games, folks. So I think everybody's having a good time. Mark, good to see you enjoying a big hearty game, and we'll see where we what we talk about next week. Because in 2 more weeks,
yeah,
God, there's just going to be more games to play.
so
Um,
much.
yeah, exactly. Geez, so Pete, that's even before like Spider-Man and some of the other big games come out. I think
Yeah,
Forza
that small
Motorsport's the
indie
next big
Spider
one.
Man.
Yeah, yeah, I'm ready. Yeah, and then Mario too. Oh well,
Yeah.
let's get into the bonus round. So I picked this one because um, there's a lot of negativity in the world right now when it comes to sustainability of developers, basically, and a lot of it comes down to a couple of things. Probably the amount of games that are out there, the size of the budgets of games, and the different models to go after games. And essentially, you've got games that are $70, limited amount of time you play them. You've got games that are free to play that you can play for years, and you just pay basically cosmetics and things like that. The Fortnite model, and then you've got indies that are smaller. So there's so many different ways to play, but the common denominator is we haven't found our way to get more time in our life on a weekly basis. We have not powered up our ability to stretch time. So we have a limited amount of time to game.
Mm,
And I was just doing some fun facts here. Well, I was looking at the Steam database. It says there's been 976 games released in 2023.
well,
That is essentially like 20 games a week.
well,
Uh, Steam has over 12,000 games in its library. This is a fun one. The Wii U eShop had 266 games. Think about that. The Switch, as
so
of I couldn't find a new updated number, but it says of September 2022, the Switch has 4,600 games. I
that's
mean, that tells you
2022.
how. That's
Oh
2022. So
man,
I mean, assume another 500.
1,000. Yeah, really.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Um, PSN, and this is across PS4, PS5, like 8,000 games. PS5 essentially plays all the PS4 games, not the other way around. So I
Mhm.
mean that's huge. Xbox Store, I couldn't find really good numbers, but it said across all their platforms, 10,000 games. So, I mean, that's cloud streaming, PC, Series X, Xbox One. I think even some of the old 360 games that you can still get from the marketplace.
Yeah.
And poor Quest 1 and 2, 289 games.
They still beat the
That's
Wii
the best
U.
one I could find.
That's still like
Yeah.
Mark
I
said,
mean,
that's
it's a
the Wii
digital
U.
marketplace. Yeah. Yeah. I didn't look up like PSVR and things like that, but it is what it is. So I just thought that was hilarious that I'm like, there's just, I mean, I can only imagine. And, you think about it, like the big studios, they maybe put out 50 games a year. If you think of the big three plus, Ubisoft and the big publishers, I don't know, 50, 60 games, like the big budget games. And then you got everybody else, all the little guys, all the little, and I think even if you talk about iOS, some games come with there, Apple Store, Android. So depending on where you play, plus all the free to play games, you don't pay a dime for except for your time and maybe a season pass or cosmetics. So with that, and I don't even know, I mean, I look at typically in a year, I'll probably beat 10, no, probably more than that, probably 20 to 30 games is what I'll probably beat in a year. Jason, how many games do you typically beat in a year?
Normally, I'm in the 70s.
Oh,
Although this year's lower, but I finally quit Warcraft cold turkey, so next year
okay.
should
Well,
be a higher number.
that's your problem right there.
Yeah.
Warcraft. That's basically a lifestyle.
But as you mentioned, I do play a lot of indies, and most indies, for the time it takes you for a AAA game, I got 3-4 under my belt already.
Yeah.
Exactly. And we didn't even talk about like the services, like Game Pass is typically 10 games a month. I think they typically try to put out PlayStation between Plus and the different services. Typically it's anywhere, three, it's probably 10 to 15 as well with all their tiers. And Nintendo, they'll give you one Nintendo Online game, maybe a Game Boy game once a month.
Yeah.
And maybe a new F-Zero 99 game once a year. So it's a little bit different. And Mark, I mean, how many games do you think you probably beat or at least, play through or play? Because I know Fortnite's your big daddy game, so that's never ends.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. Like games that I play, games that I touch, dip out. I'd say a fairly decent amount. I don't know if I could put a number on it right now, but like a pretty decent amount. Like anything usually that's like mentioned on the show or that like people are talking about in Discord, I'll at least try a little bit. But like as like many games that I beat, like fully beat, including like indies, that kind of stuff, like 10 to 20 games a year. You know what I mean? Like if I'm lucky if I can finish like a full kind of meaty game a month. Some months, again, if I'm doing some indies or something like that, I can knock out a couple smaller Nintendo games, that kind of thing. But like, yeah, it's
I think when games are on service, there's less pressure to beat the game because I feel like I didn't pay $60. So I can just dip in and try it, get enough of it, and then step back. And so I don't know if that, and I also use GameFly, so I pay for that service to play new games. I typically dip into the services, and I will only buy maybe 5 to 6 games a year. Like the games that I probably can't get through a service, so I'll play them wherever I can. Like Alan Wake, I'll be buying that. I bought the Spider-Man collection, things like that. So it's interesting when we talk about like, we don't play the amount of games that have come out in a year, and I don't know what the average number that people play. So you think about how much money is going to then the developers, the publishers, and then to Sony and the platform holders, and then to Steam. And after they have to take their cut, and then what comes down to the developers, I'm just curious, are we on a path of the game industry has to essentially contract or change their model, or there really is not a long-term future for most game development studios because it's not sustainable if they don't find a mega hit to fund their next game? I mean, Game Pass is an option, but like I said, Game Pass puts out about 10 games a month. They're not going to be able to solve, 500, 600 developers, problems. Steam discoverability, all these things. When you got the big game and they don't have marketing budgets and they've got to hope people find them. So I just want to hear from you guys. What do you think? Because we aren't hearing about a lot of studios. Even the big companies are pulling back. They're pulling back people. Epic announced they're going to lay off 800 people. They are getting rid of Bandcamp, and they really carved out Mediatonic. The Fall Guys, that was like one of the biggest games forever. It was like critical darling. It was everywhere. So I'm like, if they can't figure it out and make it profitable, I'm like, that's scary in a world. If you are a developer, you want to get into game development, you want to be in the games industry, you want to be in games journalism, you want to be a streamer. That's pretty scary to me. I don't know what the solve is, but I love these games, but I've only got so much time and money to play them, so I don't know how much I can actually help.
I don't think I don't think it's as cut and dry. I think you do have to separate the free to play and the paid, because obviously there's a different. If a free to play studio closes, you can pinpoint more because obviously they were expecting like microtransactions or stuff like that to help them, and it's hard to what was it, the first Descendant, the last Descendant, what was that shooter? It was just there was a beta.
That's right. That was shown at the PlayStation State of Play, right?
I just played the open beta. It's a good game, but it's very Destiny Warframe, like a mashup. How sustainable is that when you already have this massive Destiny community? And Warframe, defying all logic on their 700th expansion, they're still going. How a game to crash into that market? But then again, they're backed by Nexon, which is a massive corporation. But I feel like the free-to-play studios, it's like you really have to you have to get lucky. But then you have the indie games, look at Sea of Stars. Look at how well it sold its first week. I think it's not as cut and dry. And for us, there aren't too many games because we want that. We don't want to be limited. But then, because you got to think of it like a new studio releases a product, they need to sell to keep the doors open versus I don't know, the car industry. Say Ford releases a new vehicle, it doesn't sell. They still have their other cars that are selling. So, okay, we scrap this, we move on. But what was the studio that did Shadow Tactics and The Cursed Gambit? I can't think of the name. They shut down after their last release. And those were highly reviewed games, all of their titles. So I think it's is it timing sometimes? Is it, the market, what are people playing? And then you have studios like Spider-Man's coming out the same day as Super Mario. Do you think Insomniac and Nintendo are even worried about the other? No, because both of those are going to sell regardless. Most people are going to probably buy both.
Yeah.
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 We haven't completely got out of the mindset of a full calendar year still. We still put there's too many big games at the end of the year because of the so-called holiday buying season, even though the majority of people that are buying games, these days don't have to wait for mom and dad to buy them a Christmas present. So
right. Look at us. We're not waiting from 30 years ago to now. If I want a new game tonight, I'm going to probably buy Paw Patrol for my girls. I'm not waiting for a gift. I'll probably buy that. It's a different mindset too.
Yep. Yeah. And I do find an interesting feel like games that were heralded, and which makes me think of Callisto Protocol. That game was heralded, got huge publicity from Sony, was in several of their big presentations, multi-platform release, came out, did not sell well, and now the head of the studio's left, and that team has been reduced, and that team is going to close. I mean, that's tough. I mean, that's I would say the success rate of a developer these days is about as good as a restaurant. Essentially, 20% will probably succeed and move on and do more and more games. But most, if your game doesn't succeed, you can't fund your next game. And Sea of Stars is an interesting one, Jason, because that game was highlighted on Xbox. It went to Game Pass. It went to PlayStation Plus. It's everywhere, and it's gotten broad publicity. That's why I think it did so well, because there were so many people behind that game. It was getting so much there. I think if that game was just released on Steam and hidden away, it wouldn't have the same success. So I think it becomes more than just being a good game. There's so many good games. I mean, there's not bad games anymore. There's just games that are better or get more acclaimed. And I mean, even Baldur's Gate was called like, oh, that's not going to be a second run game. That's not going to be a big deal. Now it's supposed to be one of the biggest games of the year, and it might even outdo Starfield for Game of the Year. So I don't know. It's just a weird situation. It's kind of crazy. Even like Meta is building up their Quest VR. They got a new system coming out. They're laying off 10,000 people within their gaming piece. They're eliminating people from Ready at Dawn and Downpour. So it's like mixed signals, right? It's like growing, getting big, want to get bigger, and then you're like eliminating devs, and it's like it's not like I can leave this one and go to a new one. When the industry, essentially, you see all these people leaving, they're all going to be fighting for jobs. It's in the gaming space is limited compared to other industries. I mean, you can't go to GM or Chrysler if you have a gaming portfolio background. Typically, you have to go back into gaming, so it's a little scary. And I hope there'll be more opportunities. But when we talk about subscription gaming, if that's our future, there's only so many games that are going to go into subscriptions, and that's a tough one, So, so with that, Mark, I mean, Apple, you think of like Apple Arcade, right? And where they're going with gaming, they're selling our Resident Evil Village for $60, and I'm curious to see how that takes off. Does that become a new market?
4 and Village.
Okay.
Yeah, and so I'm wondering, like, we've got to get maybe more marketplaces to give more opportunities so developers can find more ways to sell their product, make more revenue.
Yeah, I mean that's it, right? And that's hopefully whether that's subscriptions or if it's cloud gaming or a combination or whatever, just like you said, in more places, more flexibility. I think the Switch kind of paved the way for stuff like Steam Deck and things like the iPhone 15 or 15 Pro or whatever, where you can just attach that to a dongle like I have right here and plug in a USB and use a wireless controller, and that's essentially running game console stuff like the Resident Evil, like you said. If Apple's pushing that, if Apple's making that push into the gaming space, like, it, I guess, could be both good and bad. It's like probably good for developers because like you can make some bank on an Apple device, but they also have the money to really disrupt stuff, which could again cause layoffs at other platform makers or other studios that are owned by that or whatever. Right?
Well, the Apple thing could also be a bad thing because we don't know what it takes to port like Resident Evil on the iPhone. We don't know what it took to get that game. Obviously, the iPhone 15 has the capability, but it's not as simple. We're taking it from PS5. It's clearly a different version. So it's like we don't know. So yes, it opens but like are you going to have that budget to? Oh, we can also put it on this device.
Yeah. Going back to WWDC, and I don't know if this goes over to like iOS development, but I'm guessing it would in a lot of ways. But Apple, again, that's one of the things they were pushing at the Worldwide Developer Conference was the tools that they're using or the tools that they're building to allow developers to more easily port PC games over. So if your game can run on PC, they want it to be like a couple of days work versus a few months work. And they're building the tools to say, okay, this is taking this engine and it's translating it into something that we can understand or we can use, or you can like very easily translate and set up. It takes advantage of, the stuff that Apple's doing. with their chipsets, and even in the new one that was released this week or last week, there's a gaming mode built straight into like the laptops. Like it clocks things up. It doubles, I think, the Bluetooth rate so it's better with controllers, wireless headphones. It basically just goes into a gaming mode specifically meant for that. So like if Apple seems to be really stepping it up, and again, I don't know, the stuff that I remember them talking about was more for like taking a PC game and changing it to a Mac. But I'm going to assume, because it's all kind of built on the same platform, that iOS would also be a fairly easy translation if the chips are, again, more on par like they are on the 15 or the 15 Pro. So it's, them making a push, they seem to be doing it in a way that is friendly to developers, which is, again, that's pretty good, right? Like it's cutting down the time and the cost that it takes to translate those. So hopefully they can just focus on the games, and rather than like, oh shoot, this isn't working on this device, right? So we'll see it that way. But like for me, it's like Jason said, there's no right answer for any of this, right? Could it be different devices? Maybe, but we've also seen stuff like Niantic fail with a half a dozen games from half a dozen franchises when Pokemon Go is still going strong. But like, who would have thought that Harry Potter, Ghostbusters, and whatever else is like a dud? You know, like I would have thought like Harry Potter would have been here to stay kind of thing. Like that was going to be like, there's fantastic beasts everywhere. You don't like Pokemon? Cool. Here's a Niffler, or, you know, but like nobody cared. Everyone was like, who gives a shit? There's a dragon over there. No, I got a Charmander right here. Like, go away. You know, so like even a company like that has like this absolute bangity bang bang banger, Joseph, sometimes they like, you can't guess what's gonna succeed. So it's tough. But I think we're seeing some stuff that's related to this, and I hope that things kind of continue to go this way. And that's like the game that I talked about, Assassin's Creed Mirage. Smaller scale. I feel like I can beat it. I feel a little less scared to jump in at that price point. You know, you think about like the cost of entertainment and the time you put into it, where you could like go to a movie or stream a movie or buy a movie or whatever. Pretty low barrier of entry for a lot of stuff. I mean, going to a movie theater and getting popcorn and all that kind of shit like adds up pricing, whatever. But like buying games is expensive. You know, it's not like, you know, even if you purchase movies, like whether it's a Blu-ray or digital or whatever, like it's like $20 and you're good to go, and you can rewatch the Super Mario Brothers movie over and over again. It takes like an hour and a half, 2 hours, whatever. Like gaming, it's like a lot of these games, they think they need to justify the budget by padding out the game. So you have a $70 game that's 120 hours, and you're like, I don't have 120 hours, dude. I'm not getting that. Like, I just like, you know, and like I've skipped games because I've heard how long they are, and I'm like, I got a 3-year-old. I'm not touching that. Like, I would love
Starfield, it takes 12 hours before it gets good, is what they said. I'm like,
right.
You can't, it's really interesting because Capcom's now talking about like they want to raise the price of games even more than 70. I'm like, I think that's going to be a challenge, because if you want to grow, if you want to grow the install base, you have to find a way that makes it affordable and give an entry point. And you know, Nintendo even went to $70 this, you know, with Tears of the Kingdom. So it is a challenge, especially if you think about it. People are complaining about the price of Netflix going up like $5. It's $20 a month for unlimited watching of things if you want, versus one game that is essentially 4x the price of Netflix or 3x, and is only one thing that maybe one member of the family can enjoy, which makes it a challenge. And you know, even if you're a Nintendo household, potentially, if everybody has their own Switch and they all want to play Mario Kart, that's an expensive proposition. Animal Crossing is the same way. You can't give your kid, they want their own island. They have to buy a separate Switch and their own game, which, that's, getting to 300, $260. So I am curious. Phil Spencer made a point. He's like, publishers have really screwed the pooch because they didn't invest in storefronts, essentially. So now they're reliant on these just having a lot of money to fund some games. And if they fail, they're kind of screwed because they don't have a way to bring back their costs. I mean, Ubisoft has a storefront. Capcom doesn't. Sony does, obviously, because their platform. Nintendo does, but Konami doesn't. All these. So essentially, every game they make, they're losing 30% off bat because they have to give that money to PlayStation. So it's essentially they're already at they're in a negative position, and that's where I thought Epic was do a great job because they're creating a marketplace that essentially is cutting down the fees. I think they're at 8%. Everybody else takes 30. They're at 8%. And everybody's complaining about Epic's the worst. Epic's where I'm like, I get it, but isn't that a better situation? Steam is $30 or 30%. Apple's 30%. So I'm just curious. It's like giving the publishers more money back obviously allows them to put that money into other things or people and things. And we're trying to unionize. So when people unionize, what does that mean? They want more money. They want more resources. So what is that going to mean to us as consumers? Typically, people don't want to have less profits. They want more profits. So that typically means they're either cutting people, doing more with less, which happens a lot, or they're going to raise the price of their services, or microtransaction, do different things, DLC, things like that. So it'll be interesting to see where we go from this, because I hate to see people that want to be in games not be able to do them, because if they have one failure, that's the end of their career, and they have to hope they can find another job. They have to move their family, go somewhere else. If you want to be in media, I worry about people want to be in media, because you see how many traditional media sources are gone. Esports, people that are thinking about being in esports, essentially in the US, the esports market is going away. There's just not the success they could find. Internationally, it's a bigger deal. So I'm just curious about when it all comes down to this. I'm like, I hope we find a better way to approach gaming that's profitable, creates great careers, and does things like this. But I do worry when some of the biggest companies in gaming are not leading the way. They're cutting back and they're reducing resources to make games. So that's just a little scary. So if you had one wish to make things better, or you would like to see changed that you think could make the gaming industry for employment better, what's one thing you would do? Jason?
We didn't bring it up, but we're the problem too, and people don't want to talk about it. But if you think about it, gaming as a whole, extremely toxic. I know you both have seen it on social media, but if you go into the individual communities, like Dark Souls, obviously the whole get good, but if you actually dive into like the subreddits and like the Steam forums, people are super helpful. It's just that entry into but I think like the stupid console war, like we're all old enough to remember the actual console war, Sega versus Nintendo. That's it. But now you got people review bombing things. That hurts. Yeah, you're just hurting the Sony ponies or the Xbox, but you're hurting the devs by making it like, because then the people not in the podcast communities, the non gamers that aren't on Reddit, they're not on Twitter or X or whatever, like the regular consumers, they just hear word of mouth. Like you have the fans of like say Skill Up or ACG or the big YouTubers. If they don't like a title, all their fans don't like that title, even without playing it, and then that spreads to their smaller group of friends, and then it's like I feel like why can't we all just get along? It sounds stupid, but like I have a group of friends who game, but they're not into social media aspect, and they come to me for recommendations, and I'll give them I didn't like it, but I know you like this style. It's perfect for you. We don't have enough of that, and I think that also hurts the bottom line. But nobody wants to think about it. Like, it's not our fault. It's the developer's fault. They should have made a better game. They should have advertised better. It's like, yeah, but also you were trash talking a game you never played. Like, I think So to see a better community as a whole, I think would definitely help. Like
Mm.
overall, like it wouldn't solve it because a lot of games obviously come out cross-platform, whether it's subscription or just native, and you buy it on the store. But the
Mhm.
exclusives that get like people get upset when a PlayStation game gets ported to Steam. Why are you upset about like? How does that affect you
Mhm.
on a daily? Like, oh no, Steam players play Last of Us. It's ruined for me. Like what?
Yeah, it's it. So it seems like you'd say we need more gaming ambassadors to
Oh,
to
definitely.
grow the audience, be helpful, be supportive, and kind of don't engage with people that don't really want to make the world a better place.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds so silly. Like it's kindergarten stuff. Like
Yeah,
be nice to each other. Or I think of
Mhm.
like Roadhouse. Patrick Swayze, be nice. What? Just be nice. Like, but it's such a simple like. If I don't like a game, I'm not going to tell you. You two can't like this game. Like that doesn't. Maybe it's it. Like I love Remnant. Am I mad that you don't have the same experience? No, you tried it.
Mhm.
If you liked it, all for the better. If you don't, it doesn't affect me. Like so, yeah, better ambassadors as a whole, and not just the select few, like the big YouTubers or
yeah. We
streamers.
don't want gatekeepers. That only a select few are the chosen ones. So
Like if
yeah.
Ninja
Mhm.
says, "Oh, this game's terrible, don't play it." How many kids are not going to play it because of that?
Yeah.
Thousands.
Yeah.
Mark, do you have a solution for the gaming industry to?
I personally, there's a trend that I've noticed that's so corporate. I think getting away from some, I'm gonna say just like boardroom building kind of stuff, of like it feels like they're just checking off boxes. Like Avengers is a great example. Like you see great games that are ruined by little things. Avengers Anthem comes to mind of, you know, you get this, it seems like this artistic vision of like, we're going to build this game. It's going to be this, it's going to have this story, it's going to have this. And then some jackass in a suit with a bunch of like numbers is like, yeah, but we also need to introduce these aspects because that's a buzzword right now. And it has to hit this, and it has to have microtransactions. It has to have, this live service game that's
Season
never in it. And it's
passes.
like all this kind of shit, right? And it's just like, it feels, we can tell. And I think even like the most casual, unfocused gamer can tell when that kind of stuff is in there, and it's just tacked on. Um, and I would love to see that just kind of go away. I know there has to be like profits and stuff made. I'm not saying like everything's just like hippy dippy zen kind of like, oh, just produce the art you want to produce and don't worry about budgets. I don't know. Phil Spencer kind of seems to operate a little bit on that with Game Pass. He's like, I don't know, we do different metrics for different games. I don't know what success means. We make it up as we go along. Like you see the leaked emails, and he's just like,
I lose
how
more
is
money
that guy?
than EA earns in a year.
He just like, how is that guy a CEO of that? Like, I just don't know. I love him, but like, I think we need more of that kind of mentality in some things of just like, not everything has to be a live service. If there's a game that's 5 hours, but it's like a banging 5 hours, like produce that, release it. Like, I wonder, honestly, I'm sure there's someone that gets paid a lot more than I'll ever make that like sits there and is like, you know what? We have a total of whatever, like 20 million people who would buy this game for $80. That's the maximum amount ever that we could possibly sell this for. That'd be the best game ever. Like, would that, if you cut the price in half, would that increase to 40 million, or like is it still 20 million? You know what I mean? Like, is there a price thing? Like, I got, again, going back to that movie, the ticket price or buying a movie, like the barrier to entry is lower. I think like there's a lot of that hesitation of like, do I buy this machine? Do I pay that much for a game? What do you mean you spend that much on one game? That's crazy. Like, I don't know. Like, is that, can we do more like artistic $20 quicker games? Like, is it like, I love the indie games for that kind of reason? Because, like Jason was saying, you can play a bunch of them a lot quicker than a AAA. A lot of times they're more impactful, they're more meaningful. Um, like maybe I don't know. Maybe I just like
No,
indie games more.
no, no.
Like,
Quick note on that. So I game share. Todd, you know Jeff, my co-host from Nerds Gone Platinum. We game
Hmm.
share, and we have a spreadsheet, and we have a list of games that are not day one. We're interested, and basically we only get these at 50% or lower. So yeah,
mm,
if that game came out at 50% of the cost, maybe it would have been day one. But like
right.
that's kind of like so it begs to like you think like, oh well, I'm not gonna get both these games same time, but if this other game was half, maybe I would get
Hmm.
both games. I mean, obviously you can't play both games at the same time. But if it was
Right.
half, like, oh, I'd be more inclined. But I
Yeah.
think it works in certain situations. Like if you're on the fence, not everyone's always on the fence. Like, do I get this
Yeah.
now or do I wait? But I think
Yeah.
it does. But like you said, there's obviously stuff we don't see behind the scenes that we only see like the headline stuff,
Yeah,
but we don't
yeah, they've
know. But I do
yeah.
think there has been situations they've even made it clear, like someone in the boardroom was like, "You need this," and it turned
Yeah.
out it
That's
There's
very
there's a
clearly what
classic.
happened with both
yeah.
Anthem and Avengers,
Well,
like
like
very recent
Avengers,
examples.
I feel is even worse because you can't buy it now; it's gone.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Like
Yeah.
Avengers is
like
gone. Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, there's certain games you can't buy anymore because of licensing.
I
A classic
remember,
example of the pricing that you mentioned, NFL 2K.
yeah.
They were battling Madden, and they priced their game at $20. Did very
Mhm.
well, and Madden was so scared they outright bought the license to NFL and eliminated their competition.
Yeah.
So sometimes playing dirty is worse for the industry because it essentially made Madden not have to get good in regards to being better, doing other things
Mhm.
because they didn't have any competition. Um, I think, Mark, I totally see your viewpoint of like, what's a better viewpoint? I think a lot of studios would be better to be able to spread their resources across multiple projects rather than just one. Sorry, like my microphone falling. Uh, because if one
It's a good catch.
fails and that's their only one, they may
Mhm.
not get another chance. And that's the thing. So, but if they had many little experiments and smaller games they could get in front of people, one might be the one that catches fire, and it might just take them off
That's
and
it.
get them a better
And
deal. And yeah,
there's nothing saying that you can't have a $20 game that has season passes or a DLC. It's when it's like, hey, here's an $80 game with the DLC, with some season passes and all this kind of stuff. And you just kind of feel that like corporateness of like, all right, we have to hit this. So what are we going to do to hit this $80 game? Okay, cool. It has to be a 100-hour experience. Okay, cool. But we have like a 5-hour story at max. Spread it out, dude. Like, like it just feels like that kind of like the little check boxes going off sometimes. And it's like, all right, man, make half of that game and release it for like half of the price, and double the amount of people will buy it, or triple the amount of people will buy it, or whatever. And you'll be making either the same or more money, because it's not going to get absolutely shit on by people who are like, don't buy this game because it is a mess. Like,
yeah.
I
And
feel
I'm
like we're seeing
sure
that more and more and more happening.
someone in that boardroom looks at all the awards. But
Mm-hmm.
my personal take on it, I think the awards are dumb because how do you like? It's like the Oscars. My favorite
Mm-hmm.
movie is not even nominated. Say like Remnant 2 is my personal game of the year. It's not going to be nominated for. It's not going to go up against Tears and Starfield. But like
Mm-hmm.
to me, like someone in a boardroom would look at that as like, oh, we didn't get nominated. We need to do better next year to get a nominate. It's like, but why? But you look at like Remnant sold over 1 million. I mean, Remnant's a bad example. Gearbox did a phenomenal job. It's over 1 million units. But you get my point. Like I think, like you said, someone in the boardroom looks at it just. not as like they just look right at like one number or one thing, or oh, this
Yeah.
is hot now, do this, and it's like that doesn't apply to our game.
Yeah. Yeah. That's it.
Like,
You
why
feel
isn't
when
this
it's
Yeah.
all
tacked on, right?
Hades? It's like because it's a shooter, we can't be Hades. Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah. And by the
Yeah.
time the game of the year comes out, anyways, it's almost too late to wait for
Mhm.
those acclaim to actually then drive sales because you've wasted so long. So I think it's a nice thing to put in a box, and it just feels like
Yeah.
it's like credibility in a lot of ways that the game, like Xbox would love to have a game of the year because they rarely have. That feels like that puts them at a prestige level. But that's more of like I think an internal versus. I think Nintendo could care less if they ever win a game of the year because, quite honestly, they don't care.
Yeah,
They'll get Doug Bowser to show up and accept the award for the developer rather than the developer come up. So that's the way he operates. But I think my solve is growing the group of people to expand the type of games they play. I want the next person that has been playing Animal Crossing to try Hades. I want people to do that, not just have one game. I only play Animal Crossing. That's the only thing I do. And because it's like the people that bought a Wii and only played Wii Sports. I want to get those people and find something to get them. And I think we need an ambassador that speaks to the mainstream, not YouTube with a million channels with very edgy content. I want a kind of more like a professional video game program. And I know who can make this because he already does. It's Victor Lucas. Electronic Playground made a very entertaining, mature, well produced, highlighted small and big games. Talk to directors of games, developers, illustrators, anyone, personalities. And it was a talk show, and I think, or like a show that you could find in the networks. I think that's how you build audience. Not having more YouTubers that are spread across and they talk to like 100,000 people. I think you need to get somebody out there to tell people about more of the games that are on Good Morning America, and they talk about the big game. We need something else to talk to people across the board in a way that's intelligent, speaks to all ages, and says, yeah, you got that PlayStation 5. Guess what else you can play on it that you may not have heard of? Because everything we're talking about is the niche audience. We're in the echo chamber. We need to grow it beyond there. Obviously, we've got kids, so obviously we can talk to them. But it's your friend that you work who's not really a gamer, but he also likes sports. He likes cars, and he's focused on a million different things. So what cuts through and tells him about other cool things beyond just the next Zelda and GTA? So I think that's what we need, because if you grow the audience, you get more sales. The world's in a better place, and you can grow the different types of games that are successful versus just the big ones we talk about here. So I think that's what we need to do: grow the audience, get people off of just their standard free to play games on their mobile device, the big games that you hear about. And I think we need to grow it that way, and also get people to understand that games have changed. A lot of people still view games in a very condescending, Big Bang Theory nerds. Why are you doing that for 30 hours? Why are you paying $80 for that game? And they need to know there's more to it. There's art, there's things like that. Because people love the Last of Us movie or TV show. And the game sales grew, so that's a good thing. That's why I wanted a Zelda show. I want the media to drive people back to the games versus drive them just to the property on a screen.
Right. I knew people who actually didn't realize it was a game.
Yeah.
And then it was like, poof. But yeah, no, you're right. Like Jeff Keighley, everyone watches his summer games. But the 4 hours after his show, future games and all that stuff, maybe he should be promoting more. Like, how many people watch that? Like, there's the Escapist 100 newest indies. Like, but you get a smaller crowd because you don't get the promotion. Like, it's not the newest season of Call of Duty, so who cares?
Yeah. Somebody's got to get. Oh, go ahead.
Do you think there's a it's going to come off bad no matter how I say it? Do you think there's a like a gamer developer piece of ego that has to drop for all of that to happen? As far as I'm thinking like an easy mode, like a story mode of in more games. Like there seems to be that like get good mentality for so many things. Whereas like I think there'd be a lot less pressure for people to jump in if they knew there was like, I just want to see where, let's say The Last of Us, like I want to see where that story came from. I want to see, is the game different than the show. But then they go in and it's like, I don't know what all these buttons are doing. I don't know. I hate dying so many times. Can I just turn it on like walkthrough mode, basically? And I know like there's a technical part of games where like that's part of the fun of like interacting, but like
the challenge, right?
The challenge. But like, is there a middle ground that we can see where, the barrier for entry on a mobile game is so low of like, it's not going to get frustrating too
Cuphead,
much.
Mark.
Right?
Cuphead looks like a very simple, fun game. I play that. I'm like, it's a death trap. I'm like, why does it have to be that difficult to be enjoyable? I like the world. I like living in it. I like having the fun.
That's it.
Making it less difficult doesn't make it a worse game because you can put it to the difficulty again. Yeah, I struggle with that. I struggle with if it's not challenging, it's not good anymore. I'm like, that's your opinion, man. But I bet there's 99% more people that would play that game would say, no, not for me. And you're limiting an audience and you're limiting sales. And once again, you're leading into that gamer mentality of, well, it's not for you then. It's not for you. And I'm like, well, that means that you're basically saying you want the gaming market. I knew them before they were cool. I only want to be this big because it's my thing and I don't want to share it. I don't want it to grow. I mean, obviously, if the creator doesn't want it to be that, that's one thing. But once again, we are so full of ourselves and so over. It's like it's our thing, so we control it. That we're just limiting ourselves, and we're gonna doom this with all the negativity, like you talk about, Jason, all that negativity, all these things, they add up, and everybody has to look at themselves and like, am I part of the problem? And a lot of times, yes, we're all part of the problem.
Yeah, I mean, and that story mode, I definitely think could exist. It doesn't have to exist everywhere because I know there's and as someone who's played all the Souls games and beaten them, that when you do it, the satisfaction of doing it. But it doesn't have to be those, like you said, The Last of Us, there's no enjoyment from playing that on the hardest difficulty compared to like a Souls game. So there's no, and doesn't Assassin's Creed, didn't they do the guided tours?
Yep.
So I think more games nobody's arguing Mario's not difficult enough or it's too hard.
Right.
There's no, wasn't it? I think it was a 3DS Mario. If you died enough, you got that power up.
It was essentially easy mode. Yeah,
I think it was 3D Land, and that power up and on the world map, and you can get it. I think, but I'd also be curious if someone could get the stats on who's avoiding games based on they heard it's too hard.
Yeah.
Before that, that all would be implemented. I'm curious if that's really. I like it, but if maybe that's not a necessary fix right away, because I think there's but I'd be curious, but we'll never know.
Yeah,
never. I think we all just get yeah.
Yeah, I just want to feel good about what I play, even if I'm in the baby mode. I'm good with that. Oh well. This is a great discussion. And Jason, thank you so much for coming on. Tell people where they can find you, man.
So my website's deargamers.net. And just to cap off what we said, the name of the site comes from, we were joking on Story Route Zero, basically, Dear Gamers, it's not all about you. Because whenever people would get so upset about the state of play, this was the worst thing ever. I didn't see this. It's like, but someone saw something they liked. So I think to cap off our conversation, it's not all about you. Think about the other. But yeah, deargamers.net, dear_gamers_ is our Twitter. But the website's probably easier with all our links. It's just two of us. We do it for fun. I'm Gimpy J on pretty much every Nintendo, Steam, PlayStation, Xbox, everywhere. But yeah, no, pleasure to be on the show. It was a great discussion.
Yeah, it's been a long time. Awesome. Mark, where can people find you?
You can find me pretty much everywhere at _Canardian, mostly Instagram, Threads, and our Discord's probably the best place to find me these days. And you can find me on Xbox and Switch as just Canardian.
Excellent. Yeah, and I'm still on Twitter, so is Secret Friends U. That's where you can find us there. But really getting more out on Threads now that we can manage multiple accounts. There's a website for Threads now, which blew me away, which still no direct messaging yet. That's the last part, and I
that's
think
a
will be
tough one.
good. But we're actually Secret Friends Unite on Thread, which makes me so happy. So great. I'm also there at, I believe at Teoxtra there as well. So join us there, Discord, like Mark mentioned. But also, you can find me when I'm gaming. I'm not great at gaming with other people, which is sad because that's the name of our podcast. But Spartyon98 on Xbox and Switch, and Spartyon1998 on PSN because I couldn't have just 98. Dang you, PlayStation. Oh, well. Well, that is it for the show. Thank you, Jason. Thank you, Mark. And remember, folks, it's always better to game together.
This podcast is part of the Secret Friends Unite podcasting network. Visit secretfriendsunite.com for more great shows, articles, news, reviews, and more. Secret Friends Unite podcasts are available on Apple, Google, Spotify, and other podcast services around the world. If you'd like to be part of the conversation, you can join us on Facebook or our new Discord server, or follow @SecretFriendsU on Twitter. Please subscribe to Secret Friends Unite on YouTube and visit our merch store at tpublic.com. Just search Secret Friends Unite. Thanks for listening.